Oh, hello again. And the EU Referendum campaign is going to come full force the next few days after the lull in memory and out of respect for Jo Cox. Now, I never knew this lady and I never heard of her, to be honest, but I have read a lot about her since. And what a loss. Obviously a great loss to her husband and the two young children. But what a loss to the Labour Party and yes, to British politics. Because I have no doubt whatsoever that her heart was in the right place. She had the right values. She propagated the correct views of life and politics and society that we should all aspire to. And she would have been probably one of the leading lights of the Labour Party for the next 25, 30 years. But there we go. It's not to be. But we can live our lives, our politics, using Jo Cox as an example. And that's what I hope will happen in the last few days of this campaign. I lost a bit of heart, actually, in campaigning, because I never thought that such a thing as this would happen in our society. And society is to blame. Whatever people's views are on why this happened to Jo Cox, society is at fault. We let things be said and develop over years, whether it was in relation to immigration, whether it was in relation to a wide range of other issues. The right-wing press, the media, certain politicians, certain political movements, they all carry blame. And it's time that we change. And it's time that we stop. And I lost heart a bit because it threw me back to 1974. Because I too had threats on two separate occasions very quickly. When I won by a majority of 3 in February 74, Wales was a cauldron. The struggles and the fights going on between nationalism and in particular the Labour Party then, it was a cauldron. And I received threats that particular night which required police surveillance for about a week. And then when I was Roy Jenkins' parliamentary secretary during the Troubles in Ireland, I had a more serious threat, and it was deemed necessary to have a bleeper system from the House to the police in Carmarthen, and that went on for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought to myself, yeah, gosh, my 2 children, or our 2 children, were less than 5 years of age, and that they were subjected to that. So maybe that has affected me in terms of losing heart about all this. But we must get on. We must try and recapture the initiative and get back to what is reality and good politics about all this. Now, we are members of the most influential organisation in the world, the European Union. The largest market, the most influential in terms of trade and all sorts of other situations. We need to be positive about our case. The Leave side, they peddle dishonesty, exaggerations, unreality, things that are plainly just not true. And therefore we must regather ourselves for the next 3-4 days because this referendum is far too important to lose. The key matter, apparently, is sovereignty. Our sovereignty is not in doubt. Britain, the UK, is a sovereign state, full stop. Parliament is sovereign, full stop. The EU is not a sovereign state. The EU is not a sovereign body. It gets its powers and everything it is able to do through the members, through the 28 members. And it's the Council of Ministers and the European Parliament that propagate and initiate and eventually agree on what is to happen, not the Commission. Of course, the Commission is like a civil service, like our civil service, and it makes proposals, and it makes things to consider, as our civil service does. But the sovereign body is our own country. And if you look at what has happened over the last 40-odd years, most of the decisions, indeed over 90% of them, are based on compromise. And over 90% of them are issues and decisions that the UK governments and to both parties, Labour and Tory, have agreed to. Nothing whatsoever has been imposed on us that the UK government has not agreed to. So this sovereignty issue needs to be put on one side. We are in the United Nations, we are in NATO, we are in other places where we gather greater power and greater influence. Of course, we have to share power. It is a give and take. It's a compromise when we're in those organisations. That doesn't mean that we are less free. Doesn't mean we are less organised. Doesn't mean we are less powerful. It's together we are powerful, united. Now the other issue, I've heard it so much, is us and them. You know, the them being Europe. It's nothing of the kind. There are three major powers in Europe: ourselves, France and Germany. And in essence, we decide the priorities, we decide the direction, we decide the key initiatives, we decide all of that. Nothing gets foisted upon us. It gives us political, economic leadership in the world. And it is a dangerous move we're on to consider leaving that organisation. Now, I have listened this morning to a person who I'm going to put on a link on my blog later on. A person called Michael, I'll have to check his name again, Michael Duggan, who is professor at Liverpool School of Law. He has a video which is quite superb. And I'm going to put a link to my blog, and everyone should should listen to what this man is saying. And I discover from what he said that there's been a major civil service research study that went on for 2 years, 2012 to 2014, 32 reports, the largest research study ever created and ever participated by the civil service in our country in its history. And it goes through every aspect of our relationship with Europe. Why on earth the government, why on earth the Remain campaign have never drawn attention to it, I'll never know. But it is a massive read. You cannot possibly engage yourself in it in a few hours. It is endless. But there we go. There are other things to talk about, which I'll talk about tomorrow. The leave situation. It is not a matter of 2 years. It is not a matter of tariffs. It is also a matter of trade regulations, product regulations, and many other aspects. It's a matter of what's going to happen to UK law. For 40 years, our law and European law has intermeshed. Leave, we will have to revise and revisit all of that. Now just consider, just think, what are the obligations of all this? It is never ever going to be, it will be all right overnight. It is never ever going to be, as Gove and Johnson and Farage tell you, it'll be easy. We have a future. Maybe we have a future, but uncertain it will certainly be. Okay.